What up? What up? What up? What up?
Yo, what up, killer?
Hey, nothing much, man. You know, last week I got into a fight with my diet. I think this week I'm back, so we good.
Okay, no glasses on this week.
Yeah, no glasses. I don't have that black eye no more, man. I don't got that black eye no more. So, man, we're back for another week, man. We welcome and thank everybody for tuning into our last week and the week before that, and maybe the week before that. So, thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for liking and commenting. Trust and believe we are reading those. We appreciate all the positive feedback we have been getting. And we're gonna try to keep this going, keep this, as long as we can. There may be
Well,
an end.
I gotta say, I like this view, man. It feels like we're just so up close and personal with the people.
I feel like we're right there with them. Right there with them. I had to correct that real fast. But nah, man. So we're gonna try this, try this theme right here and see what we got going on. But we have a special guest coming on. So Jamal, can you introduce our guest?
Man, we have a doctor, or soon-to-be doctor, I should say.
Okay, doctor.
We have a CrossFit expertise. She has a background in CrossFit. Okay. She won her pro card in 2024 in women's physique. All right. She is a 5-time overall champion. Five time. She is a part of Team Nonstop.
Okay.
Let's welcome Jacqueline Summers. And if I was wrong about anything, please correct me.
So the only thing I will have my doctorate, but I won't be like a medical doctor. I'm getting my doctorate in nursing.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. See, now I gotta go fire my dang on assistant because
it's very confusing. It's very confusing for people. They're like, "What is a doctor of nursing?" It's basically a doctorate in nursing, but not a medical doctor. So currently, I'm a nurse practitioner.
So let's hop right into it then. Tell us about that and how you even have time to even compete with all that going on.
So there's actually a lot of people who ask me this. To be honest, I'm fortunate because I work in an urgent care. So our shifts are either 12 or 8-hour shifts, and I don't work like a standard Monday to Friday. I could work any day of the week, and it changes every week. So I could work 3 days in a week, or I could work 4 days in a week, allowing me to always have either 3 or 4 days off, which does lend well to bodybuilding. However, it's also very hard. If I'm working a 12-hour shift, I'm waking up at about 3:30 in the morning to go do my cardio before work. And then if I have to lift, then I go back after work and lift. Where does school fit in? I actually get asked this a lot. What do I listen to during cardio? I listen to lectures. So it's not all my lectures, take however long I'm doing cardio for, but like I'll listen to them a couple times, or I'll listen to audiobooks that are related to what I'm studying. So I kind of fill my cardio time with schoolwork because I need to double up somewhere. There's only so many hours in a day. And then when I was in the beginning portion of my program, when I was just getting my master's, I would listen to lectures while I lifted too. So a lot of people are always like, how do you listen to that when you lift? Well, you mentioned my CrossFit background. I went through a very long period during CrossFit where I actually trained in my garage. So I have like a full gym in my garage. And I did it in silence. I was always somebody who worked out and lifted completely in silence. So filling the background noise now with like lectures it doesn't bother me. A lot of people can't listen to their teacher talk while they're lifting, but I don't know, it's kind of something that like doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. I feel like I can focus more when there's a topic that I need to pay attention to playing in the background, or I'll put on my headphones and actually not play anything. I just don't want to be talked to. I've done that a couple times too.
Okay, so you said a lot here, and I think I don't want to skip past the origin story, right? Because like you said, you're a student, you're, a nurse practitioner right now, and
Yep.
you did CrossFit. So
Yes.
where in the heck did bodybuilding come into play at?
So, I had been doing CrossFit. I started doing CrossFit in 2013. I had a background in gymnastics and dance my whole life. Basically, when I graduated high school and went off to college, I did cheerleading for a year. And then when I was transferring schools, because I changed my major, um, I kind of found CrossFit with my mom, actually. We found a Tough Mudder and decided we wanted to do it. And a lot of people told my mom that the best way to train for Tough Mudder is to do CrossFit. So we started CrossFit in 2013. And I did it basically all the way until 2024. I was about 4 weeks out from my first show ever. And that's when David essentially was like, all right, we need to pull CrossFit out of your programming and just, for these last 4 weeks, hone in and focus just on bodybuilding. So from 2023 to 2024, I was actually training both. I was doing CrossFit at 6:30 in the morning for the 1 hour class. And then I was going over to nonstop, doing my cardio, doing my lift, going home, getting ready, and going to work. At that time, I was a nurse in the ER. So where did bodybuilding kind of come into it? During those 10 years that I was doing CrossFit, I would go out a lot, just randomly to the food store, to run errands, to shopping, whatever I was doing. And I would get asked all the time, oh, do you compete or are you a runner? Those were the top two things that people would always ask me. And I said, I do CrossFit, but like I don't compete, in bodybuilding, like what you're essentially asking. And after getting asked that so many times, I kind of was like, maybe I should compete. It was always something that kind of sat in the back of my head because I think CrossFit is a great form of exercise. However, it wasn't necessarily getting me the physique that I wanted. There's a lot of impact with CrossFit. It's very high intensity. It's very hard to tone up and look a certain way because you're trying to keep as much muscle and sustainability in your body that you possibly can so that you can perform those workouts. So I'm not saying that people who do CrossFit don't look good because they do. It's just it's a different look, right? And I wanted to really test the limits of what I could do and get myself to where I wanted to be. So my physical therapist at the time actually recommended two people to me. One was David and one was another coach, Mark. And I reached out to both of them and spoke with both of them. And I felt that I fit better with David. So I showed up at the gym one day. He said, come in, let's talk. I'll show you like kind of what it's about. And I never looked back.
Absolutely. So what I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this question. So we all know CrossFit is a different form of regular lifting, right?
Yeah.
But do you think CrossFit helped you along the way with bodybuilding?
I do and I don't. So I think I
Okay.
have a very good base from everything I learned in CrossFit and everything I was exposed to. Like I know how to lift. David didn't necessarily need to teach me how to perform exercises or lift. It's obviously very different though. Like I go into the gym now and I do, like one muscle group and I do more static exercises, whereas CrossFit is like, all right, let's do a 400-meter run and then 3 rope climbs and then 12 clean and jerks and then 18 pull-ups. And let's do that 3 times, like 3 rounds of that 4 times as fast as possible. So CrossFit is very like
Cardio.
yes. Cardio and cardio lifting. Whereas bodybuilding is not. So that was an adjustment for me. And also I learned a lot this season because I haven't been to CrossFit since basically April of 2024 at this point. I have fully removed it from my training. I don't still do it. I don't do it in the off season. It had a place and a purpose for those 10 years, but I don't feel that it has a place and a purpose now. And I learned a lot this season after I came off of my first true off season, that my body was taking too much of a pounding and too much of a beating from CrossFit. And that's why last year, my legs didn't really come in as good as I would have liked them to. And this year, even it took probably until like this most recent show for them to fully come in how I wanted them to. But I just kind of learning that like, okay, 10 years of pounding on my body excessively, it's not just going to go away overnight. So I do think that it both helped and hurt, if that makes sense.
So, I have a quick insert because with that, I was just like, because you are women's physique, correct? I want to make sure I'm right.
Technically, yes, but I'm also figure.
Okay. Because I think it's a cool correlation, and this is just because of people we interviewed on here.
Yeah.
It's funny that the 3 women that we interviewed on here all did CrossFit, who also won in women's physique. Because Kristen used to do CrossFit and Jessica also does CrossFit or CrossFit style training. So I think that's a cool correlation. Maybe if y'all women's physique y'all want to win, y'all might need to do some CrossFit. But, but the one thing that I want to drift off into is like, when Jamal introduced you, he said 5-time champion, right?
Yes.
That's nothing to bat an eye at. That's nothing short of, a successful career, because we all know that some people may get a pro card, and people hate to hear it, but some people may get a pro card and their competitive career is over. They may never get one pro win. So what was your mindset after you won your pro card? And then you're like, did you think you were ready for the pros, or did you just was like, all right, whatever happens, happens, and then I'm just good with that?
So the story behind my pro card was actually my first ever show was Syracuse, the OCB show in April of 2024. I show up, we're checking in, and they told me at check-in that there was no longer a pro card on the table because a girl dropped out. And I said, well, all right. The plan for my season was to do Syracuse and then do Conquer. And, David wanted me to go to Conquer as a pro. And I was like, okay, well, that's a hefty, bag to carry, because I'm very new to this sport, and Conquer is a big show, especially for women, right? So because of that, we last minute signed up for Pittsburgh in the week after Syracuse. And I went there, and there was 4 girls in physique, so there was a pro card on the table. I was standing backstage, everybody does this. Everybody looks around at their competition, starts to second guess. And David actually wasn't at that show because he had a prior commitment, but he said, like, I still want you to go. I'll watch the live stream and everything. It won't change anything. I just won't be there in person. And that was like a little bit of an adjustment for me. But at the same time, I was like, all right, if he wants me to go to Conquer as a pro, this is the opportunity. It's the only show between Syracuse and Conquer. Let's go do it. Long story short, I got my pro card at that show. I think Conquer was either 2 or 3 weeks away. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like, I got to be, at the top of the top. These people are by no means new to this sport. Like, I'm 2 shows into my career ever and stepping on a stage with people who have been doing this for 5+ years. So I felt a little nervous, but I also felt pretty good about where I was. And I was shocked to walk out of Conquer with a 3rd overall finish. So I brought home a check, and I was like, wow, okay. Like, David knows what he's doing. This is great. Obviously he knows what he's doing, but I definitely second guess myself because, like I said, I was very new to this sport, and I'm, going to the big guns. From there, I kind of unexpectedly fell into figure because my next show was Scorcher in Arizona. I already paid for my flight. I already paid for the show, and they didn't have women's physique for pro. And when we were at Syracuse, somebody actually said backstage to David, you should put her in figure. So I went on Amazon, bought a pair of heels, cheapest ones I could find. Started practicing and posing for figure, went to Scorcher, and won first overall. And I was like, okay, wasn't expecting that. Then Hall of Fame was 2 weeks later, and I won first overall again. So I had a very, very successful beginning to my pro career, and that's when I kind of found like, okay, my heart might be in physique, and I might enjoy physique. However, I might be meant for figure, because I definitely second guessed and was like, David, I don't wear heels. Like, we don't do this. But I had a very good, 2 shows. So we took a small break over the summer, and my next show was an ANBF show in Brick, New Jersey, because I live in Jersey. It was local, and we said, why not? Let's do it. There you can cross over in the ANBF. So I did both figure and physique, and I won both of them overall. And then my next show was Yorton of 2024. I placed first in my class and fourth overall, in like just outside the top 3. And then my final show of last year was Mr. America, where I got third overall. So I had an extremely successful first season, which has also made this current season a little challenging. You come off such a high, and you don't really know. Every year, you don't know who's going to show up. You don't know what to expect. Your body changes. So this year, I'm just kind of riding the wave, enjoying the process, and making sure that I am better than the person I was yesterday.
Absolutely. So that's going to bring me to my next question. Can you just give us the shows that you've done this year? And this is one of the reasons why we wanted to interview you, because you done stepped on a lot of stages that people probably don't know about within different organizations. So can you just give us a rundown of the shows that you've done this year?
Yeah. So I started this year with the Natural Viking in Minnesota. That's an OCB show. Then I moved on to Yorton, which everybody knows is like the Super Bowl in the OCB. Then my third show was Mr. America. I chose to go back, 1, because it's local, and 2, because I placed fairly well last year. And David was like, why not do it? Let's see what happens. My fourth show and most recent one was an NPC natural show. So those are the 4 that I've done so far this year.
And for me, I think the question that I have for you, is it hard trying to mold your physique to each one of them organizations, or are the criteria pretty much the same across the board for each organization when it comes to your category?
So the criteria is pretty much the same. It's the posing that changes a little bit. So in the OCB for figure, the side poses, one hand goes on the hip and one hand, kind of flares out. Whereas in the NPC, their side poses for figure follow the physique poses, where no hands go on the hip. So you just hold the, I don't even know how to call it, like the diamond shape, where your hands are not touching your body. Aside from that, everything else is pretty much the same, criteria wise. I will say, OCB don't hate me for this, but I do think that NPC follows criteria more closely and awards people who meet the criteria versus awarding people who maybe are slightly outside of it, but they have a little bit bigger muscles. So like, they're not only chasing size. Like, I truly feel that NPC follows the guidelines. Not saying OCB doesn't, but there's definitely been times when we've all been at an OCB show and we're like, I don't really know if I agree with that.
Gotcha. So the one thing I have with you is, or I have for you, is how you said, you started in women's physique, but then your body fell in figure, because in supposedly the criteria are supposed to be so separated, right?
Yes.
There's like the body types are supposed to be 2 different body types, supposedly. Because of course, we're looking for the V taper, we're looking for, conditioned legs, we're looking for a shape in figure. And for women's physique, it's mostly, it's conditioning. We still want a shape, but it's conditioning, the poses and all the different things that go into women's physique.
Right.
So for you to, be able to fit into, we call those people a tweener. They can go in between the two, which is a top level competitor at one and can dabble in the other and still be competitive. So when you go to these different stages that don't allow you to cross over, is your decision solely based on whether they have that category or not, or is it just like you make up your mind before you prep for that show, like, all right, this show I'm going to do figure, this show I'm going to do this show I'm going to do this? Like, what's your decision process? Because your prep has to be different, because you have to come in from my perspective, of course, from the judging perspective, you have to master your conditioning if you go physique. Because if you don't come in shredded for physique, most likely you're going to get scored down. I know for sometimes in figure, conditioning isn't as important, but it is important. So do you make up your mind before you start your prep, or is it like last minute, I'll just do this instead of the other?
So the story behind that is actually, if it were up to me, I would be competing physique. However, the way that my body was looking through the off season and into the start of this year's prep, and the way that David feels so passionately about me in figure, we decided we were going to do figure. He really likes me in figure. He feels that I have a great shape for it. And he told me in the beginning of the season, as the season progresses and as you get leaner and, more conditioned, physique will be on the table. So my next show, actually, I'm only competing physique because there is no figure. However, we're also 5 shows into the season. I've been in prep since April, and my body looks a lot different than it did in September. So I'm filling the category for physique a little bit better now, and I have a better chance of performing and doing well, if that makes sense. So yes, it is hard to fill both, because for figure there needs to be some shreds, but not crazy, like no striations that are, that make you look physique. But I will say, if there's any two categories that can interchange, probably figure and physique.
All right. So obviously I know you have one more show coming up. Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So from what I heard, you're doing Ben Weeder here in a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
What's your mindset behind that, and like what made you want to jump in there? With people, I don't know how true it is. I don't care to know, but people say they're half natties or whatever the case may be. I don't know, and I don't care. But what made you want to jump over there and compete with the NPC side of things?
So, to be honest, I just wanted to run shit.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to take my experience from my first season, dabble into some other orgs, see what they're about, because when I first came to David, he's very big in the OCB. Not that he doesn't tap into other orgs, but that's his main organization. And I was like, there's so many other orgs out there that, you can dabble into and see how you do over there. There's other natural organizations. It's not just the OCB. And when NPC Naturals came out, that's when I was like, okay, I definitely want to, tap into that, because I know that I look good, but to go on an NPC stage with people who are not natural, I'm going to look really small. Let's be honest. Those girls just hold size differently, whether they're natural or not. I don't care to know if you're natural or not on stage.
Right.
But when the NPC Naturals came out, and then Ben Weeder is technically a Naturals, I was like, all right, this is my opportunity to tap into NPC and trust that I'm competing against naturals. So that was actually my most recent show in Boca Raton, Florida. The Saturday that just passed, so last Saturday. I'm sorry, last Sunday. It was a Sunday show for the naturals. And there's no polygraphs. It's just the overall winners get urinalysis. And only the overalls. So only first place is urine tested. Nobody else that I'm aware of is urine tested. And that for me was an adjustment at first because actually Mr. America does it the same way. They only urine test first place. So that was a little bit of an adjustment because I'm like, so how do you know that everybody else on this stage was natural? You know? But I guess they don't care because they're not overall winners. You know? And this is also another reason I kind of did the NPC Naturals is because it put me back into amateur. So you don't go into NPC Naturals as a pro just because you hold pro status in another organization. So I stepped on that stage as an amateur, and because I won the overall, I qualified to go to Ben Weider, which, you know, obviously the goal is to go there and bring home a pro card. So that's the next step. And we can actually add in that I will be doing one show between now and Ben.
Dun-dun-dun. What show?
I'll be doing OCV Tampa.
Okay, awesome.
And that's where I'll compete physique only because they don't have pro figure. And then at Ben, I will do both figure and physique.
Okay. So we have a what is it called? A segment, but we really don't go into anything else. It's just us talking, right? So we have a segment called Top 5, right? And this is so fitting because one is random as hell. Two, Jamal doesn't know the question either because I just made it up on the top of my head. And when he makes it, I'm the same way. And our guest also doesn't know, right? So it makes it a very informative thing. So this is going to be kind of quick fire off the hip.
Okay.
And I think it's fitting for this episode just because of this interview. And I'm going to quit beating around the bush and get to what it is, okay? I just got to build suspense. Hold up. Let's see what we got. There we go. All right. Hey, I found some toys over here, Jamal. My bad. So we have all competed on multiple different stages, multiple different organizations. So my top 5 for today is, and we will go round robin. You will go first, of course. And it will be, what are things that you have liked on different stages? You don't have to specifically say where it was, what organization, but what was something that you enjoyed as an athlete, whether it was a certain thing that they had to show, the experience, whether it was, it could be polygraphs, whatever you think it is. We're going to list 5 things, of course, because this is coming from athletes who have seen different stages, who have been different places, to list off. Okay. So starting off, what is your first thing that you have liked at a show?
The praise of a natural athlete. Hands down.
Jamal?
Dang. What have I liked at a show? Oh, man. There's plenty of things, but I would say the one thing that I like about a show is treating the pros as pros. And that's not us getting special treatment. That's us earning that treatment to get treated as pros. So I like it when a promoter goes above and beyond for the pros and treat us as such.
Okay. One thing that I never competed at this show, but I have liked the effect of because I went to an expo very similar, where people was able to compete at the same place that they stayed. So that was a very good thing just because it was almost impossible. You're not getting stuck in traffic. You're not doing all this other stuff. You're literally staying where you compete at.
All right.
That's definitely a good one. And I'm going to have to agree. I'll still give you another one. But this NPC Natural show that I just did, I stayed in the hotel where the show was held, and it was amazing. It wasn't like a host hotel and then a venue, which I get it. If it's a bigger show, it's hard to do it in a hotel. But that was hands down the best move I made, was to book a hotel room in the same place as the venue.
All right.
Let's see. Another thing that I like. is the community that's created, and like when a promoter remembers you. So like if you polygraph with a promoter or somebody who, is kind of higher up in an organization, and like they walk in and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. How are you doing? Please come out to our next show." Just being remembered. That's a
Okay.
good
All right.
experience.
I think my second one, I'm gonna get very specific here. No Gear. They got the big castle, right? And like I just love like it's like a grand entrance because you got to go through the castle and then enter the stage instead of just coming behind a black curtain. So it's like you get this grand entrance entering the stage. So that's something that I really like.
Okay. So my next one is I like shows that is logistically in a place that just makes sense. Like whether like me and Jamal, most of the time when we end up at the same show, it's never planned, but when we end up at the same show, we always like to have somewhere we could walk. Whether it's like when we went to Beaufort, they have the giant mall in Beaufort, or whether it's in Florida, they have like beaches or places you can go. So places that just logistically make sense. We never walked on the beach. We never walked on the beach. We never walked on the beach. But I'm just saying places that logistically make sense. Like don't put I think even when you explained Viking, how everything was right there in that area where you could walk everywhere. Like it was a very walkable place. So just having the venue and having the show in a place that people will want to travel to. All right, we got 3 more.
Let's see. Another one would be kind of piggybacking. It's kind of similar to what Jamal said, treating pros like pros. When the overall placements, are swagged out appropriately. That's always nice.
Arizona.
I think my third one would be transparency from the promoter. As she stated earlier in the episode, like some shows you go to, you expect to be competing in figure, but there's not enough pros, or you know what I'm saying? So then they don't give out a pro card. So I think transparency is very good on the promoter side of things, so athletes can make that adjustment so they're not wasting their money at the end of the day.
Right.
I think this is going to sound crazy, but reputable judges. I feel like when you go to a certain show, of course, I don't have to know who the judges are, right? But making sure that promoters, like I think when we had Jessica on, she was very specific about, hey, we handpick and we select our judges. We had them on. We either had them for a couple years or we handpick people that we trust will be really great judges for our show. So I think even that, like promoters choosing their judges wisely, making sure that they are reputable and that they, kind of just know what they're doing. So that's across all organizations. So last 2 guys.
All right. My fourth, and this is like a big one for me, is a show that runs on time.
Hold up. I might hold up.
Because I can't tell you how frustrating it is when they give you a rough estimate of a timeline. I get it. Sometimes there can be hiccups, but like, I mean, I don't compete in bikini, but I have known bikini girls who are still at a show at 9:00 at night, and that's crazy. Like that's just absurd. These girls have woken up probably at 5 or 6 a.m. because they have hair and makeup, and then they're just expected to sit backstage all day, hold their peak, and like not walk out of the venue until close to 10:00 at night. Like that's crazy. We got to do better.
All right, and I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of you. I'm gonna say staffing at a show. Staffing is very important. I know there are certain shows I won't go to now because I know some of the staff that will be there, and I just prefer not to be around them. There are certain shows I won't go to now because I know who may potentially be head judging that show, and I don't want them. I don't want to be nowhere near them. So staffing is very, very, very up there on my list.
All right, my number 4. I think it's the one thing that, of course, that I tell people that I compete for because I don't really compete for the money. I really don't compete for anything else. I compete for cool trophies. I need to know what the trophy is.
Yes.
Like, have a cool trophy. Have a weapon. Have something I don't have. Like, granted, I have enough muscle men statues, and I have enough, I mean, I'll take another big cup, but I have a lot of cups over here too. So it's like, what's different? What's the new thing? So I have been to, and this is shouting out the shows more so than tearing any shows down, shouting out the shows where I got really great trophies from. So
okay.
The last one.
Just a kind of side note on that, I actually picked a couple of my shows this year specifically for the trophies that they gave out.
There you go.
Because I'm like, I don't need another, cup or another this or that. Like, give me something cool. Fifth one for me, kind of similar to staffing, but not so much judge-wise, expediters. I think they play a really, really important role. And when you have a good expediter who is keeping the athletes on top of things, open communication, filling you in, that's really important.
Okay. Side note too, awards. Promoters, please understand that some of us fly to your shows and we cannot take swords and stuff back on an airplane. I don't check bags when I fly.
Me neither.
So listen.
Hey, keep passing them out. That's what he's trying to say. Keep passing them out. I'll come get one.
Hey, you can give them out, but pay for the shipping to get it back home.
That's a good incentive. Hey, if somebody wins it, pay for the shipping. That's a good incentive right there.
And I think my last one is just overall appreciation, right? Because that's what all of us want at the end of the day, especially pros. As we know, we don't do this for the money, because by the time we get a $1,500 check, $1,000 check, and we put in all what we put into to go to the show, we're lucky if we break even, right? So just for a promoter to show that appreciation for us as we step on their stage, because at the end of the day, we are what makes the wheel go, us athletes. So just overall appreciation, man, for sure.
And I will round this off with the last and final one. My one is coming from not only an athlete perspective, but also a coaching perspective. And I have seen this being like kind of louder now than it used to be. But having that, having a venue where coaches can be coaches. Like, if I'm a coach but I can't be within 10 rows of the stage and my athlete can't hear me, then that's not appreciated. Because if you think about it, 9 times out of 10, the coaches are paying probably half of what it costs for registration just to be a coach. So if I'm paying, that higher dollar ticket to be backstage and be in the show, then I would definitely want to, like, in a lot of shows, kudos to the shows that I'm talking about, have blocked off coaches' rows that's super close for the coaches to be able to talk to their athletes on stage, to be present and to be heard. Because I have been to shows where people will get kicked out of the aisles because they don't want them to be closer to the stage or close to the judges, which is a hazard. And I understand that. So shout out to the shows that's taken the initiative to create coaches' roles and a standard for coaches to be coaches, because of course this is their profession.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was your top 5, guys. So if you have any more than that or something that you really appreciate the show, leave it in the comments. We'll be sure to read it and maybe highlight that as well. But we definitely want to wrap this up and thank you. You said we could call you Jack.
Yes.
As long as we don't say that other name. So I won't say that name. So thank you, Jack, for joining us, because this was a great episode, very insightful, and we want to wish you luck on your future endeavors, especially at these next shows, because they are coming up.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Until next time, y'all. Peace.